And then another thing that you mentioned that I think maybe because I'm more Michigan, so I kind of know a little bit more about the Detroit side of things. But like it seemed like your whole family was kind of in the auto business, I would assume.
Yeah, even my mom, she's not an engineer, but she worked for Ford for a few years. She still works for Ford actually. And my
Got you.
dad works for an automotive supplier, and so did my aunts. So it was pretty much if you lived in the area, you probably were in
Yeah,
some way affected by the big three.
I see. And I asked that because I'm curious, like, how did that year '08 affect you? Because I feel like obviously the recession, but I think it hit Detroit a little bit harder. And I wanted to
Yes,
know, were you kind of, is that memorable to you? I don't know if you were old enough, young enough.
that's very memorable. I was just starting high school at the time, 2008. It was actually a year before high school. And so that was the year that my parents filed for bankruptcy. Um, they lost their jobs. My stepdad was an electrician. He couldn't get work, and we were struggling financially. That around 2009 was the year that we actually lost our home. We ended up moving into a townhouse that was roach infested. We weren't. I wasn't prepared for that. I know my stepdad was. Couldn't wait to get out. This wasn't the life that he wanted for us. And
Mhm.
so that year was a year that I was kind of determined to make sure that I would never put myself or my family in a similar financial situation. I
Mhm.
knew I would have to put in the work. As a high school student, I did not want to be social. I did not want to be in extracurricular activities. So I was like, that's more work. But if you learn how to play the game, if you learn the game, you learn how to play the game, you will realize that the work that you have to do in high school is preparing you for success later on in life. So I had to do extracurricular activities. I took on three jobs at one point in time in my high school
Wow.
career because I was like, first I need to afford the future, but also I need to make sure I have that work ethic so that people will be willing to invest in my future.
Hmm. And was there, because I feel like, early high school, you're still kind of young, right? Your parents are still taking care of you, right? Was there a lot of pressure from them when they recognized the situation where they're in, where they were like, "Yo, Donovan, you got to kind of go get it. You got to get after it," or did you more take that on your own and was like, "Man, I gotta help the family out."
Yeah, my mom was a C student growing up, and so when I got my first C, I remember the night before, I was sweating. I was like, I probably got a C. I don't know how I'm gonna survive this. My mom might beat me up or whatever. You never know with a black parent.
Yeah, yeah, you
But
never know. You
but
gotta hide it.
I never forget. I showed her my report card that next day, and she just was like, I don't, you don't have to be perfect. This is perfectly okay and normal. I was a C student. I don't expect you to do any better than I did. And so my parents, my family never really pressured me to do everything that I ended up doing. But I
Mm,
knew that you know, I took it upon myself to say I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a change, not just for me but for my family. I don't want us to be in debt trying to afford an education. I don't want to be in debt trying to pay for what I should be working towards. So I took it on
got
myself to
you.
actually do the work, and
Word.
it paid.
Facts. Big paid. And I want to get more